What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at Data Dash, and today is July 17th of 2019. Well, folks, I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are, and in today's video, we've got a wide range of different topics to discuss in regards to crypto markets. We're going to start off by taking a look at price action in crypto markets, talking about the recent 3-week correction, and I'm going to be explaining my rationale as to how I'm approaching it. Outside of that as well, LedgerX finally launching its derivatives product for both institutional and retail investors, furthering exposure to cryptocurrencies. I'm going to be ranting and raving on the government as well, continuing to defame Bitcoin and explaining the irony behind it. And last but not least, taking a look at our sponsor for today, Fantom, not only at a recent announcement they made, but also understanding a little bit about what Fantom is all about. So we've got lots to discuss, guys. Let's not push it off any longer and dive right into the update. So taking a look here at the overall market, we can obviously see, guys, it has been an absolute bloodbath. There's very few cryptocurrencies, mostly stable coins, that are actually holding in the green. The vast majority of cryptocurrencies in the last 24 hours are in double-digit territory to the downside, with very few exceptions. The only thing that seems to be up at the moment is this altcoin here, for some odd reason, Business Credits Alliance Chain, which the icon looks very familiar. It kind of looks like the logo from Assassin's Creed. Well, anyways, again, guys, anything will pass in cryptocurrencies, I guess. This is a big problem, I think, with the altcoin valuations, is that a big part of it is ballooned because of crazy no-name projects out of nowhere. Anyways, putting that aside, guys, I'm not trying to give publicity. I don't really know what it is. Let's go ahead and take a look at market cap. So as we can see here from the general peak here and the quarter that we've had, from the peak in June, just in the last few weeks, we've had a pretty good slash in valuations. Almost a third in valuations have been cut from the peak here at 366 billion down to 250 to 56 billion. So again, pretty big kind of knockoff of the value that we've added over the last weeks. But again, very short period of time. This is basically just closing down on the gains that we've had in June. We are still massively up comparative to the valuations just a few months ago, back in the early part of the late part of 2018 at $100 billion. So it's something, again, that I'm not too concerned about. We're still at a 2.5x comparative to those lows. But I think this is the period of time as well where we're finally getting that 30 to 40% correction that all of us were waiting for many times in the past. And I'm going to be emphasizing, as we take a look at Bitcoin here, as Bitcoin dominance starts to get very high here around 66%, that we need to start, again, planning for a reversal in trend. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the chart. Now, no matter if you guys are looking forward to an altcoin cycle or anything like that, I'm not even going to step into that right now. I want to talk about the psychology of markets and a very simple trick that a lot of people can get themselves into. I remember very vividly between my live stream chat from crypto Twitter, from every single platform out there in regards to crypto communication, that during this rally here, everyone was wishing, as we started to get into this upper band around 11,000 to 12,000, it started moving exponential. People were like, oh, I wish I could have bought Bitcoin at 10,000. Why didn't I buy it then when we broke through? And why didn't I buy Bitcoin at 9,000 or 8,000? Why didn't I buy at these lower levels? And we're now at a point where we are at those exact same price ranges that people were begging for Bitcoin to correct to so they could just set an entry in. But now the price is starting to correct, people are now starting to backtrack. And it's psychology 101 when it comes to markets, guys. I feel sad because this is the time frame, if people are really truly taking investing seriously, this is the time frame where I get optimistic, and it's paid off for me a lot of the time. When I don't try to trade markets too much, I just trade the greater cycle, and I continue to average in, okay? I'm not trying to swing trade. I didn't sell much of my positions that I added. For example, I added Bitcoin at 10,800. Yeah, I'm down a little bit right now at the moment. And along with that as well, I made some positions down here. And who knows, price could possibly visit down to this lower range. But between these lines here, from the general lows that we've set out as we've gone on this correction period, not to mention as well, just a little bit of a relative close band down to the lower side here. Again, this is the range where I'm looking to buy here. Anything within this range here to me is a great steal. I feel privileged, and almost in a sense, I feel honored to have the opportunity to buy Bitcoin at 4 digits again, because I know, at least with my thesis right now, the way that I'm investing, there's no guarantee of it. I do believe we are going to blast past previous highs at 20K. Even if we just went to 20K, that's more than a double on my investment. I'd be really excited about that. It would be probably the best performing asset I could hold the entire year because stocks are overextended. Bonds aren't going to yield you anything like that. Gold, silver, yeah, they're going to go on an uptrend, but I don't think they're going to double within a matter of a year. I think it's going to take a few years. So if I can get to 20,000 and beyond in the next year or two, anything around this range is a steal. Don't try to trade these markets, guys. Again, I can't give you direct financial advice, but I would say here is to just really make sure you're not caught up in the short-term things. Do not get panicky about, oh, now we're dipping. Yeah, we had dips back here. And the good thing is that we finally got a nice, healthy 30 to 40% correction. Right now, actually, if you actually take a mark from the top here down specifically to 9,000, you'll get somewhere around the range. Actually, right here at 9,000, I dragged it down here. It's hard to get it exactly on the number. 35%. Now, there is a chance that we could go down to 40%, which would be roughly a lot, as we talked about before. This number's been well known, obviously, because we've had the top up here for a while. That around 8,200 to 8,250 could be about a 40% correction. That would be good too, but I'm not waiting around for that. I'm going to buy in when we're in this price range. I'm currently waiting for some money to move to my exchange account. That's the banking system for you. It takes a little while, a little more than you think, but or would expect it to, the 21st century. But that's what this is all about, guys. You have to, get eager and get it. I wouldn't say get eager, but don't be greedy. Don't try to get, oh no, I'm not going to buy at 9,000. I'm going to wait for 8,500. Like, I can tell you guys, it's the same thing with like people who get too greedy with like the limit orders they set, and they miss out on the greater swing or trade. If you're swinging or trading this market, that's fine. I'm sorry to rant and rave, guys, but I want to make it clear. I know most of you out there don't want to actively trade the market. I personally don't. I basically ride cycles, and especially in this market, I wouldn't try trading it. In the previous cycle, I did trade on some of the rallies and corrections because it was much more predictable. It became very clear how the pattern was working, and the even numbers that Bitcoin was kind of keeping in relation to were very easy to predict. But we aren't in that full cycle yet. We haven't broken past the all-time highs. It is going to be rough and shaky until then. So, okay, I've ranted on, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you guys did, maybe drop a like or leave a comment on your thoughts. Even if you disagree, let me know down in the comments down below. Some of you, for example, I'm sorry, getting caught up here. Some of you as well believe that this is going to go to lower levels. If you guys do have a price target for that, if you think it's going to go lower than the range that I've got highlighted here between 8,000 and 9,000, let me know. I'd love to know down in the comments. But I have to say, guys, again, I like a good correction like this. It's similar to historical levels. And we've also got some pretty exciting news. Now, again, I don't know if this is anywhere close to being a catalyst. This is one of the things that we're definitely looking forward to continue carrying markets towards more exposure and obviously, hopefully higher valuations over time. And that was LedgerX listing its new version of its derivatives product. So they finally launched one of the contracts as they've gotten their license over the last month, where you can actually buy a call option for 100,000 Bitcoin. Can you believe it? Which will expire in December of 2020. Now, I will be honest, as I've talked to you guys, as much as I do believe this is going to be a killer cycle and that we do have a chance to reach 100,000 by the peak of that cycle, I don't know if it will be valuable to hold a call option on the date of December 2020, or at least the month of 2020, because I honestly don't believe we're going to reach there by 2020. However, that being realized, I think this is really cool. So basically, LedgerX, which is, again, one of the companies that's been pushing forward alongside Bakkt to get these new types of contracts available, these new derivatives products out to individuals, has finally gotten its license. It's launched. It's completely U.S. regulated, so you got the cream of the crop in this case. Like, if it's under the U.S. regulations, you're doing everything by the books. It's a reputable company. And in this case, you can see here that they're again, first launching a contract that's going to be betting that by 2020, Bitcoin's going to have a $2 trillion total valuation. We're currently sitting at around, just a little bit under $200 billion. I'd say it's around 150, 170 billion with the recent correction we've had. So it's more than a tenfold increase. I don't know if we're going to get that in that short a period of time. I think we could get it by maybe 2021 if things start going exponential and we have talks of a Bitcoin ETF or something like that. Something that could carry continued adoption, or a recession of some sort, or slow down the global economy that leads people to fleeing towards hedging assets that are non-correlated to global markets. So Again, they won the approval back in June. It's really exciting to see. I like seeing that there's at least competition because we don't just have Backed, we have other players as well. But the one thing I want to say is that as much as people are jumping the gun and saying that this is huge, for example, they're talking about dozens and dozens of these institutions got back to us saying we'd be interested in trading a contract like this. As much as this is really cool, as much as this might be a great exposure for, for example, your average Joe or an institutional investor, say, hey, look, as a call option, I want to mitigate my risk. I want to go put 10 grand into these contracts, or the price may be, and who knows, Bitcoin goes to 100,000, yay, I win, right? I want to see actual volume being printed. I want to see more contracts coming out. I think this is awesome. I think the team has probably done so much work behind the scenes to finally get this done. U.S. regulators are not, just to be fair, it's probably not easy to work with any regulatory agency, not an insult directly to the United States. But that being realized, props to the team. I love anything that pushes further Bitcoin adoption or further Bitcoin investment opportunity for individuals and exposure, because I think everyone should have the opportunity to invest in what they choose, and Bitcoin is obviously one of my favorites. So good to see that. As you can see here, this is the tweet where they basically, kind of put out how much would you pay today for the right to buy one Bitcoin for 100,000 in December. So that's basically how a call option works, guys. You're getting the right to purchase something at a certain price range. So if you're getting this right very early on, it probably isn't going to cost you much, right? You're going to buy the contract in this case, and it's going to be a minimum fraction of 100,000 in this case. Because what you're doing is you're betting that the price is going to be there by then, and you'll be able to execute the option, right? So this is the really cool aspect about it. It's if you guys want to study options and as well as that futures contracts, things of that sort, the derivatives market is very interesting. It gets confusing. You get down a rabbit hole, but I don't fully understand all of it, to be fair. But I do have a decent understanding of calls and puts and things of that sort. There's kind of the basic range of options. Alrighty, so I'm going to take a deep breath, because it's time for Nick to rant and rave. All right. Now, before we dive into the ranting and raving, I want to provide some context. Now, many of you out there know, because you watch every single daily update here on the channel, that just the other day we talked about Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary of the United States, and his recent, discussion or kind of press briefing on cryptocurrencies and digital assets abroad, and how they're launching a regulatory agency to try to combat any type of criminal activity and have some oversight in regards to cryptocurrencies. This is including the Federal Reserve, as well as the CFTC and the SEC and a variety of other federal organizations. Now, I want to go ahead and, before we dive into that, again, read this paragraph here, and I think it provides some great context as to what this whole rant will be about. So, on July 16th, the U.S. Department of the Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin gave a short press briefing discussing cryptocurrencies and the pressing need for regulation. It ended up being a 28-minute slodge of alphabet agency soup, studded with calculated mentions of terrorism nearly every minute. Casual observers were left confused. Are we talking about crypto or biological weapons of mass destruction here? Make no mistake, these misguided attacks on Bitcoin will continue as long as a threat is posed to obsolete and violent government economic systems. How they attack is predictable, using some of the world's most heinous, emotionally evocative crimes. Now, I gotta say here, as an absolute comment to this has got to be, I can only assume because I know Roger Ver owns Bitcoin.com. This is probably the most libertarian intro and analysis of this topic. And quite frankly, even though I'm not a full-blooded libertarian, I will say this, completely agree with it. Hats off to Graham for putting it that way. I don't think I could have said it better myself, because, for example, I'm not mad. For example, let's first analyze this on the surface. I'm not mad at Steve Mnuchin. Steve Mnuchin is part of the greater problem. He's a face. He's been rooted in the financial sector for a long time, and he's worked at companies that have very well not only gotten caught in financial schemes in the past, where they've had to pay fines that they should have paid a lot more for, but they didn't have to pay the full fine for, and then along with that have continued to fuel the financial framework for trafficking drugs on the grand scheme of things on a global scale. But of course, we won't know their names. We won't know how they did it. And again, that's just the financial sector that screwed us over with 0.08% interest rates in our savings accounts, while they lend that same amount of money at us to credit at a form of interest rate that would only be seen as predatory, and has continued to sell us financial products that has led to 2008 and all kinds of different recessions. No. See, I'm not even attacking the financial sector there. I want to get more to the root problem that he's now a part of, and that is the government, and how the government for the last few decades has claimed that it cares about fighting against money laundering. It cares about fighting against things like human trafficking, and not to mention as well, weapons and other types of trafficking across the world, all kinds of criminal activities, funding terrorism. When in reality, the United States government, as much as I love the United States, I think there's so much great things about the United States. I am saddened. I'm almost kind of faced with a sense of depression that the United States feels it's in a position to try to say that it's going to fight criminal activity, because over the last few years, we've had nothing of the sort. And I don't need to dive through the article here. I mean, the article gives a lot of great examples from talking about more severe things, for example, of trafficking content for underage individuals, and having 264 DoD officials, Department of Defense officials, as well as high-level Pentagon officials with top security clearances being involved in Operation Project Flicker. I'm just going to go ahead and let you guys look into that. They shut down this ICE operation, this ICE investigation. Go ahead and look into it, and it gives you a good picture of what the supposed deep state or kind of, government you have is doing behind the scenes. A lot of those individuals who make up that big sector of the public sector. Okay, I don't think that's everyone, but I think it's some very high-level individuals. But that's more on a severe topic that I think you guys should look into for yourself. But I'll give you, again, another few topics. You guys remember Fast and Furious? Trafficking of weapons across the border from Mexico to the United States? That was the government. You want to talk about funding terrorism? The United States funded some of the largest terrorist organizations in the world. Again, maybe for different geopolitical reasons at the time, maybe during the Cold War. But we funded terrorist groups, and we've still done it to this day. See, military-industrial complex doesn't do well without conflicts. The United States has got plenty of money to spawn those conflicts. And not to mention as well, when we talk about drug trafficking, Drug Enforcement Agency has done a piss poor job at it. Less than 1% of drugs that get trafficked across the border in the United States get caught by the DEA. If they really cared about it, if they wanted to end the war on drugs, and if they wanted to help people in Mexico who are getting ruined by cartels, if they wanted to actually help fix the drug issue here in the United States, the fentanyl crisis that we have in the United States, they would actually go about legalizing drugs. They would actually allow for the legal sale and regulation and quality assurance of developing drugs here in the United States. And we would have therapeutic centers as well as, not only therapy in this case, but also real official medical centers that would take care of individuals who were facing addiction and actually getting to the root cause of actually uplifting people from homelessness, joblessness, drug addiction, and helping them get back and acclimated into society. But the world Steve Mnuchin represents, the world of the traditional financial sector and the traditional government, they don't know how to fix it because they are most likely the root cause of it. I want to leave off with a quote, and I'm not going to do it justice. I don't remember things word for word, guys, but I will say this. I saw a quote not too long ago. It basically said, if government is here to enforce laws to regulate bad people from doing bad things, you better as hell hope that the bad people are not in charge of the government. I know that sounds like a fifth grade analogy, but I hope that makes sense. I hope that gets across. I mean, because I can't put it any simpler than that. And it's as much as I do believe in decent government, there is decent room for government. And I think there's a lot of people who work in efforts to censor these types of criminal activities. I don't think it's everyone. I have a lot of family and friends who work in different branches of the government who have, either has served, not so much in political office, but more on the back end, helping to ensure, national security in some sense, shape, or form. But I gotta say, this is just the pure arrogance of government. It's where I get a little bit heated. So I hope you guys see eye to eye. If you don't, again, leave a comment down below. I'd like to get a discussion going. But this is what I hate. It's the thing that I fear more than anything. I mean, they can make arrogant statements like this all they want. The thing that concerns me is that eventually they're going to pull the switch on something that is going to block some amazing innovations in finance, or at least stunt the growth for the next few years, which could save countless lives across the world. I mean, I don't know how to put it, guys. I mean, the ability to become your own bank, the ability to store and transfer value however you choose, the benefits far outweigh the cons. It's like the internet. Yeah, the dark net exists. There's things like that out there, okay? It's always existed. It's just in a new format. The internet is a great technology. It allows us to connect. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be able to have a full-time job talking to you guys about cryptocurrencies if the internet didn't exist. All right, that's enough for today. So let's go ahead and dive into our sponsor here for today. We're going to be taking a look at a recent announcement from Fantom. This is just breaking in regards to Fantom as one of the major protocols that's come out throughout the bear market. So the Fantom Foundation has recently landed a partnership with the private office of Sheikh Zayed bin Ahmed Al Maktoum and Seed Group. I hope I pronounced that right. But basically, to kind of summarize what this is a really exciting announcement for Fantom, which has been one of the DAG-based projects I followed, or if you guys don't know what DAG stands for, it's Directed Acyclic Graph. And this is one of the announcements they've recently had where they're launching a partnership with both the public and private sector in Dubai to help in the initiative of the it's the Smart Dubai initiative, which is aiming to be the first city completely powered by blockchain by 2021. Now, I know that sounds quite ambitious and on a very short time frame, but they're not looking to put blockchain in just about anything. They're looking to put it in areas where it can help increase government efficiency, as well as maybe tap into some benefits for the private sector. So I think this is really cool. Now, I remember I went back in May of 2018 to Dubai. I was absolutely blown away by a huge marvel and feat of engineering in a very short period of time. I recommend you guys learn a little bit about Dubai. But I will say that in Dubai, they're very pro cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. They're very forward thinking. And, I think as well, Fantom is one of the greater partners that they could work with here, because Fantom not only has a very interesting approach to scaling as a blockchain, but being a higher scale blockchain, this is going to be really good for doing government kind of doing anything related to government systems, in this case, trying to make government systems more efficient, but also more secure to some degree. And if you understand a little bit about how Fantom operates, again, it's not a blockchain, it's basically a DAG. In this case, there's a lot of interesting possibilities with it. So you can see here some of the official photos that they took from the event where they officially kind of sealed the partnership. Again, this is just being announced today, so it's pretty exciting news for the Fantom Foundation. And again, they continue to expect expansion between both the public and private sector as a project. So I want to spend a little time real quick. We won't be able to do a crazy full in-depth analysis, but I would like to talk a little bit about what Fantom's about. Some of you might have heard about Fantom throughout the bear market as they did their ICO. And Fantom basically is a higher throughput blockchain, wants to service a lot of things. It wants to service, governments and through smart cities. It wants to do utilities. It wants to, for example, be a leader in IoT. And you can see here that there's a lot of different sectors that they want to tackle into. Part of the smart city initiative that they want to lead into with Dubai. It's obviously one of their major target markets. So giving them a good foundation to get really started and use them as a test bed. Now, the one thing I want to talk about as well, in sense of strategies, they've got partnerships all throughout the world, from Canada to the United States, as well as in Europe, and predominantly in Asia. I mean, they're obviously well exposed in the Asia region. You can see here, if you go on their website, you'll be able to find some information on some of those partners that they have in different regions across the world. Now, to talk a little bit more about Fantom as a cryptocurrency, it's currently sitting at a $33 million valuation. And the good thing about it is that it's on a good range of liquid exchanges. So it's on Binance, KuCoin, OKX, as well as Bittrex as well for us US investors. Now, they've also got testnet as well that you can go ahead and explore if you'd like to take a look at it. You can set it up on Windows, Linux, and Mac. But to kind of go through the brief explanation, guys, Fantom uses directed acyclic graph technology. This is very similar in nature to what we've seen, for example, with NANO, which is, again, one of my peer-to-peer digital currency plays that I've talked about a lot here on the channel. And they're basically taking this technology to the next level, using a variety of different algorithms and different scaling solutions in order to meet, hopefully, up to tens to hundreds of thousands. I remember during the ICO that they had a goal of around 500,000 transactions per second. And it depends on how you really go about scaling it, but I will say that DAGs have one of the most highly likelihoods in this case of actually trying to scale to that range. And the reason that is because with a directed acyclic graph in most cases, at least I know with the NANO network, you basically can process transactions truly peer-to-peer with sender and receiver blocks. And unlike a blockchain, which is always requiring consensus from a huge overarching set of computers, basically nodes across the network that need to reach that consensus, you can actually go about confirming transactions much faster. So again, I recommend if you guys want to do a little bit of a deeper dive on Fantom, I'm going to leave some links down below in the description where you guys can take a look at what they're doing. I think they're one of the more exciting projects coming up out of the bear market. You know, they launched at a time that probably wasn't very optimal in the sense of, you know, the market, you know, price activity, but they still launched, they still went through with the ICO, and they're still developing during the bear market. They got a lot of exciting things. They got Andre, who's one of my favorite developers in the space, helping to contribute to the project. It's one of his favorites personally. And you guys can look as well at the, again, all the kind of details in the project that you might be interested in on the website. Again, I'll leave it linked down below in the description. But hats off to the Fantom Foundation for their recent partnership. I think Dubai is a great place to focus right now because there's a lot of forward-thinking people. It's a great bridge between Europe and Asia. So you're going to have a lot of individuals and stuff that I think will look up to this, be interested in it, and hopefully will be just one of many steps towards getting governments, enterprises, and a lot of other entities into cryptocurrencies and the broader sense of blockchain and directed acyclic graph technology. Alrighty, everyone. So that is it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, would like to know what you all think about the things we talked about today. Are you guys getting optimistic at this price range? Are you adding into the market? Or are you waiting for lower levels? Or do you think that this is yet again another crypto bubble? Who knows? Anyways, thank you all so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Stay tuned.